Good morning. Good to see everyone. Happy 4th of July. So good to see smiling faces in this beautiful, beautiful morning. And it's so good to see everybody. Been too long since we've seen all these faces. We're going to start out with We Will Rise.
Yes.
My body, soul awaken. Home is from within.
Here we go.
And we will see love rise over the starlit skies, the earth restored again. The lion and lamb and every child and woman will live in peace again. Together we created, together we can see it. We're joined now, awaken, forward from within.
My heart is waking to a new day. The night is passing and I cannot wait. The journey's calling for the best of me. I'm packed and on my way.
And we will see love rise over the starlit skies, the earth restored again. The lion and lamb and every child and man will live in peace again. Oh, we will see love rise over the starlit skies, the earth restored again. The lion and lamb and every child and woman will live in peace again. And we will see love rise.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Welcome to our wonderful singers. We will see love rise. And we welcome you this morning to Unity Spiritual Center of Portland, where we come with an intention to see a larger understanding of what freedom is. As we celebrate this holiday, for many of us in this room, it's taking on a larger meaning. It's opening up in us a soul call to find a larger way. And I just believe as we come together this morning, we can celebrate an intention that brought together souls who said independence, freedom for every being. While they may not be able to live it in their lives at that point. And we can also find a way to say, we're not there yet. This is where we go. And so as we gather this morning, I believe that celebration, and you could call it that critique, creates a soul invitation to open, to say, Spirit, who am I on this journey, on this individual, collective, and global movement of freedom? And so let's begin this service in prayer. Mother, Father God, infinite Spirit, we open our hearts, we open our minds to a deeper understanding of who we are as channels for the love that rises through us. for a deeper understanding of ourselves and the ability to be free. We open to living in a world that works for all. And for this ability to hold this, to know this, and to allow it to move through us, we say, here I am, Spirit, infinite, infinite Spirit. I am here, I am open, I am available, and I surround this globe with that same energy, with that same life, with that same love. With this one presence and one power we call God, the infinite good, we say, thank you, infinite Spirit. And so it is. Amen. All right, and we welcome you this morning. You know, as we gather, I wanted to let you know that thank you for wearing masks during this time in the sanctuary. We'll be kind of playing with it in the next couple of weeks when we go outside, when we're other places. It's fine. We're still working with how we move through that. And today, after the service, there will be a picnic out in the garden. We have cupcakes, watermelon drinks. If you'd like to stay for a little bit after the service, or you'd like to stay the whole time and you brought your lunch, it's great. Larry Wilder will be performing an hour's worth of Americana music. He has done concerts here before. I know some of us have gotten the great joy of hearing him. He fills this room, and it's been a great opportunity just to hear him and play with him. So I know one of the things he used to be was the #1 yodeler in the United States, or in the world. He won the world title for the #1 yodeler. His banjo is wonderful also, so that'll be outside after this service. It'll be a great opportunity, and he goes on to do other shows, other places. We want to thank the volunteers who did the book sale. For the first event in 16 months here in this community last Saturday, right before the heat records, we had 20 plus volunteers, and it was a wonderful opportunity. So we thank all of you who were a part of that. Our youth and family ministry is now open. They're just kind of getting their feet wet and figuring out just where they go with that. So we invite you to bring your kids in. I know we've got a few today, but just you can contact our office, and Barbara Salvaggi will help you with that. The prayer chaplains are here to pray with you at the end of the service. If you'd like one-on-one prayer, please know that we'd love to pray with you. You can come forward, and they will pray with you here. There's prayer request forms. You can put them in our box over here. You may not have noticed it. And to let you know, for those of you who are interested in taking that journey of being a chaplain, that the prayer class will start this fall. And so if that's something that's calling to you, I just invite you to start thinking about that one. All right, and we are going to welcome any of you who are here for the first time. We just want you to know that wherever you are in your spiritual journey, you're welcome here. Unity of Portland is a community that honors every spiritual path, and we believe that that light in every being is what rises through us and reminds us of the wholeness that we are. So we are grateful to have you here, and we're going to sing. Yes. We are going to sing, so stand, please.
Stand, please. Hey, did you know you are God's temple and the Spirit of God lives in you? Here we go.
Hey, did you know you are God's temple and the Spirit of God lives in you? Hey, did you know you are God's temple and the Spirit of God lives in you? So let the Spirit guide you wherever you do. Let your light shine, God's light shining in you. Hey, do you know you are God's temple and the Spirit of God lives in you?
Oh, yes, I know.
Oh, yes, I know I am God's temple and the Spirit of God lives in me. Oh, yes, I know I am God's temple and the Spirit of God lives in me. I let Spirit guide me, whatever may be. I let my light shine, God's light shining in me. Oh, yes, I know I am God's temple and the Spirit of God lives in me.
Here we go.
Hey, do you know you are God's temple and the Spirit of God lives in you?
Yes.
Hey, do you know you are God's temple and the Spirit of God lives in you? Let Spirit guide you, whatever you do. Let your light shine, God's light shining in you. Hey, do you know you are God's temple and the Spirit of God lives in you?
Oh, yes, I know.
Oh, yes, I know I am God's temple and the Spirit of God lives in me. Oh, yes, I know I am God's temple and the Spirit of God lives in me.
I
Let Spirit guide me, whatever may be. I let my light shine, God's light shining in me. Oh, yes, I know I am God's temple and the Spirit of God lives in me.
Oh, yes, I know.
Oh, yes, I know I am God's temple and the Spirit of God lives in me.
Oh, yes, I know.
Oh, yes, I know I am God's temple and the Spirit of God lives in me.
Okay, that's a lot of words. Congratulations. And I just invite you to look around the room and recognize what you're looking at as creations of God, creations of that temple, that spirit within. And so as we just simply say good morning, we all walk this journey together. So please feel free to have a seat and know that you are loved. We love you. Oh, and as we take this sacred journey and we realize we do it together in a way that I just wonder if we realize Chief Seattle in 1854 said, "Humankind has not woven the web of life. We are but one thread within it. Whatever we do to the web, we do to ourselves. All things are bound together. All things connect. Humankind is but one thread in that web of life." And so as we begin to realize that we are interdependent and we are connected, part of this journey of centering ourselves, in just a moment we'll move into a time of meditation or prayer if that's comfortable to you. But this time of getting quiet, we can recognize that we are a part of that web of life. So much we understand, that which we may not. But I just invite you as you listen to this music to go within, quiet your mind and open your heart.
If I am made of love, then I am good enough. If I am held in love, then I am free. If I could see through love, then I could see the good and see this world is part of me. Embrace the nights, embrace the day, and know within they are the same. An empty page to write the truth that you are love and I am you.
And as we relax our bodies, centering our minds, turning within, we let go and let God. One presence, one power that moves through us. Breathing in fully, breathing out completely. I am one with the infinite. I have come with a purpose. And as I continue to let go of all of the outer stuff, I know that I am the presence of love in me, as me, holds me this moment, as love, in the silence, in the silence. remembering again and again that that still small voice reminds me I am enough for all that is in my world, for all that is before me this day. I am enough. We are enough. And this journey is sacred. This day is sacred. I am that I am as love. And so it is. Amen.
If I am made of love, then I am good enough. If I am held in love, then I am free. If I could see through love, then I could see the good and see this world is part of me. Embrace the night, embrace the day, and know within they are the same. An empty page to write the truth that you are love and I am you. For we are love. For we are love. We're only love. You and me are only love. For we are love. We're only love. You and me are only love. For we are love. We're only love. You and me are only love. For we are love. We're only love. You and me are only love.
Close your eyes, take a step. It's okay. I know where we're going. Don't fret. I've been before through these valleys and down these long and dangerous roads. Yet as dark as they seem, trust me. Though you can't see, you can trust me. The way may be steep, you can trust me. Let me lead, trust me. Open your eyes, but don't let go of my hand. Let go into smiles. See the joy inside the trials. Don't worry, you're safe with me around. Rest assured I'm on your side. I won't let you hit the ground, but as close as it seems, trust me. Though you can see, you can trust me. The way may be steep, you can trust me. Let me lead, trust me. See, I know that what's in front of you isn't always clear, but believe it in your heart that I am here. I am here. Trust me. The way may be steep, you can trust me. Let me lead. Oh, trust me. Though you can see, you can trust me. The way may be steep, you can trust me. You can trust me. You can trust me. Let me lead. Trust me.
Wow. So beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. And there is an essence within each of us. And I believe an essence that it literally we live and move and have our being in. You may call it God. You may call it the infinite intelligence of this universe, this quantum field. But there is that essence in us saying, trust me. Now, how many of you this last week thought, oh, yes, it's right there. I mean, it was a little hot, wasn't it? It got a little warm. And we're like, wait a minute, what's happening? One of the things that I know I get to do moment by moment is go back in my heart and say, okay, do I trust? Do I have the ability to find a presence and a power within me that's large enough that says, yes, you chose this, first of all. Some of the things that Unity believes, and of course, what Unity does is there's no dogma that you have to believe in this community. Instead, our desire is that you take in what we have to say, and if it works, great. If it doesn't, that's okay too. Because we believe that as we learn and grow, we find a larger picture. But this idea, one of the first ones is there's one presence and one power. We don't see it as a God out there, but instead, I have seen it as an essence, as that very energy of love. Pierre Teilhard de Chardin, who many of you know was the Jesuit priest who was exiled by the Catholic Church, and his work wasn't published until after he made his transition and passed away. But his idea, he was the first one that I am aware of that said, don't you get it? Evolution and God are the same thing. It's the energy field that moves us and continues to grow us. And one of the things he said in his book, The Future of Humankind, he said, that which takes place in all of us as we grow up, we become aware of our family past, our present responsibilities, our ambitions, and our loves is nothing. So that which happens, anybody wake up like in their 20s and think, oh my goodness, my parents did actually do something. That might have been one of them. I remember going back to my mom and saying, oh, Mom, I am so sorry. I really believed I was a slave in this house and I had to do all the work. And now I got paid $25 a week for cleaning the house because I was a swimmer and I couldn't get a regular job. And I thought that was really such a rough thing. Boy, did I find out really quick in college what that was. But he said, so, the same thing that happened to us as kids as we began to balance ourselves out, he said, it's nothing but a brief recapitulation of a far vaster and slower process through which the whole human race must pass in its growth from infancy to maturity. It's the evolution of humanity that our souls are being called into. And for some reason, we said yes to being born in this place, in this time, with, I believe, a purpose and a path And all we need inside of us to be a part of the change that we wish to see, as Gandhi said. You know, he says, be the change that you wish to see. And of course, I've often thought, oh, good, could I just change this and move this? And could we create peace over here? And could we create equity? How do we change these ideas? And days like today take me back to, wow, I'm a part of an invitation to evolve. I'm a part of being willing to choose a larger picture than I ever have before. And then to stand in every bit of truth that I know and find something more and stand for that which I believe. So in the past, around the 4th of July, I've always talked about, are we actually free? Have we found freedom ourselves individually? Because I assumed that we live in a free country and that everybody was free. I'm learning a lot more as I continue to evolve, and the classes we've had this past 5 years have done a lot for me as I've understood more of it. Right now, on my vacation that I just returned from, which was I was taking some seniors on their made-up class trip. So we went to Hollywood and saw all kinds. We saw the stars on the sidewalk. We saw all the things. I have been to Disneyland. Yes, my feet are bruised or something. They're no longer working in the same way. It was wonderful. But I've been reading Facing the Mountain, a true story of Japanese-American heroes in World War II. And just, again, as I've read some of these things and said, okay, I'm ready to educate myself to a larger picture, I've found a bigger story. And it's not always easy to want to create a bigger story for ourselves, but if we're willing to, we will find a freedom that isn't just, do I have the freedom in my little world? Because what we're learning and what quantum physics tells us is that what my freedom is affects your freedom. And what someone else's freedom or lack of is directly affects me. We're all connected. And so how do we find that idea? How do we have the courage, first of all, to be where we are, to stand in this place, to take the deeper breath, and to say, I'm a part of this evolving idea. We've just gotten through Pride Month. It's still an evolution. There are many places in the world where it's not a conversation yet. And so as we open up to something larger and recognize, if I believe this divine is within every being, then that means I hold every being in this understanding of the wholeness of who they are. And I allow that idea to choose my behaviors. I allow it to guide me. I work from that place. Just as Chief Seattle said, humankind, has not woven the web of life. We're one strand, all of us. And so when Ram Dass says we're just walking each other home, we're learning a larger piece. But for a lot of us, we were taught, I'm separate. And how many of us spent our lives trying to get free of the old stuff that we were told about whether or not we're whole and infinite and complete? And then we get to step into the next place of, for me to have my freedom, I get to touch and realize you are whole and infinite and complete, and you are whole and infinite and complete. And the ability to do that is what shapes us and moves us. And so right now, what we've been doing, and next week is the last week, we've been talking about what inner qualities do we have that support us along a spiritual journey. I believe that all of us, and I think Pierre Teilhard de Chardin was the first one who said, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. I don't know about you, but it's been really human lately. And we can look at it. And I didn't want to give up. I don't know about you all. I didn't want to give up my idea of the 4th of July. I didn't want to give up the little girl that was so excited to live in this country that had all of these things. But I'll tell you what, I don't want a view that doesn't tell me the truth. You shall know the truth, and the truth will set you free. I know that we are being called to step into a bigger truth. And when I have the courage to step into that, and David Hawkins says our world begins to build itself when we have the courage to step into that which we have previously not known, and then to begin to allow basically the universe to build through us and to move through us and to show us where we are to go. And so when we have the courage to do that, then something else happens. And so we've been looking at these different spiritual qualities. We've talked about faith. Because having the faith to meet the things that are in our lives, when maybe we grew up thinking, I can do anything, or maybe we grew up being told or thinking, I'm not enough, whatever it is, having the belief and beginning to have the belief that I'm a creation of God, of Buddha, of Jesus, of the infinite intelligence, of this divine idea of the universe, that humanity is here as these creations of God to learn to touch and to create a world that works for all. So just that beginning faith. And then we move into the idea of will. And of course, I keep going to thy will is my will. Anybody have any trouble with it's going to show up this way? I want my world to show up this way. And we don't have enough room if it's not. It's really frustrating. Right now, we're living in what you call the stressed system. And a couple weeks ago, I talked about that because one of the number one things habits of a stress system is blame, attacking. Anybody notice any of that going on? It's like, well, something's wrong and it's got to be them or it's got to be this or it's got to be that. I mean, those are just the beginnings of what is the symptom of it. And so do we have enough room here to allow a will? And then understanding, recognizing that this isn't just some happenstance. We didn't find ourselves in this place at this time. Other than all of us, there's been a soul call for healing and for knowing something more. It takes courage to learn some of it. Many of you took the book Cast. We listened to the lived experience of the Black leaders in this community this past summer. And we are hoping to do some of that again this fall. Sharon's going to teach Cast again, and we're going to start listening to that. And what we found was that the lived experience was very different than we had been taught. And so the understanding that I believe, and you get to choose your belief, but the belief of one presence and one power, and it's God, whatever we want to call it. Albert Einstein said it's kind of like a little kid going into a huge library. He said, you may not know what's going on, but you got to believe somebody wrote all those books. Whatever we want to call it is there. That's the understanding. It's underneath this. So what's happening in my personal life and where I'm being placed is the perfect order for moving forward. And most of us can say, I'd like anything but this, please. I have the list of what life should look like and what our country should look like and what the world should look like, and this doesn't feel comfortable. This is humanity's soul saying, I'm ready. I'm ready. And we went through some of the different ones of power and being enthusiastic. Today's, interestingly enough, what we're looking at is a word called renunciation. You have a power, I believe, to renounce that which has bound you. I thought it was funny that it's actually Charles Fillmore, one of the co-founders of Unity, said renunciation is about freedom and the ability to renounce that which no longer serves us. If you've believed you weren't enough, if you've believed that you were above someone or below someone because of who you were, you have the power in you to begin saying no to that which has bound you. To say, that's not the truth. That's not who I am. So renunciation, I always heard it's the act of renouncing. This is from the dictionary. Renounce means to give up, especially by formal means, to reject or disown. A lot of us are having to disown a lot of the history we were taught. We're having to disown ideas of, oh, I thought that was the way it was. I thought this was. No, we're having to say no. Let's find out what the infinite has in store for us. There's something more here. If God God is the energy of love. And the quantum field that we live and move and have our being in is an energy. We know that. Quantum physics says it. It's very clear. Pierre Teilhard de Chardin said, that's love. And anytime you can allow that to move through you, you begin to literally, as he used to put it, we're recreating fire. We're recreating that very energy. We will recreate that which needs to be recreated if we have the courage to step into it. But this is what Charles Fillmore said about renunciation. The power of freedom, the idea of being free, the idea of removing all limitations and finding freedom in life. This power idea of freedom is a key one. It's about claiming our good. It's about beginning to have the room. How many of us have room in our lives right now for good? Good. Some people, that's great. Because sometimes we can get so caught up in what's happening outside of us. We can be afraid. We can be stuck and wrestling with these ideas that we don't have room for expansion or to believe that there's a way out. There is an order larger than we know. And right now we're being asked to not just step into it, but to have the courage to meet it with the essence of who we are and the trust to know that there's always divine guidance. We will know what's ours to do and to stand in that place. And I think we're being asked to have the courage to say there are answers here. One of my ongoing affirmations is thank you, God, for answers. I may not know what I'm to do next. I have a lot of ideas of what should happen. I think all of us do. But I believe that there is a presence and a power that as we step into this larger opening in us, that we will find those answers. And we're being called to experience them. And some of them, it's not easy. I didn't exactly want to know the true story of the Japanese American heroes in World War II. But I realized that, and yeah, this is the light reading I bring. And my daughter went, oh no, are you kidding me? And I was like, yep, that's what we're doing. And she goes, am I going to learn too? And I said, probably. That's just the way it is. But it's like we got to find out some of the pieces in whatever way we choose. Because then we get a bigger picture of ourselves. We get a bigger picture of who we are and what we're asked to step into. Whether it's Native American, whether it's working with the whole LGBTQ movement that begins to say around the world we're one, around this globe. And so how do we do it? One of the first things I remember is we're bound by our ideas and our thinking. What in your thinking right now is binding you? I remember when I was moving here, my husband had passed away. I had 2 young daughters. I realized that I was moving into a whole other world. In Ohio, you pump your own gas. I hadn't pumped my own gas in 25 years, much less any of the other things that I was being called to do. But I put my house up for sale. Now, it was a very interesting thing because all of the General Motors factories had gone under. And so in my street, there were at different times somewhere between 7 and 14 houses for sale. There were only 16 on the street. So that's how many were for sale. And I put it up for sale and worked to trust. Anybody in a place like that right now where you look at your world and like, how do I trust? And I had a minister come and he said, Lisa, he said, that doesn't have anything to do with you. And I said, it doesn't? Look at the statistics. Look at all this stuff. He said, that's not about what it is. He said, I want you to make room in your heart for your good and and he said, I want you to begin the process. And he said, he called it this renunciation, which is release. It's let go, let God, and trust the process. And so my affirmation he gave me is, the good I seek is seeking me. He said, we live in a quantum field. Do you really think there's not enough? There's enough in this field. If you want to look at the idea of, there's not enough jobs, there's not enough good jobs, there's not enough this, He said, none of that's true. Those are the thoughts we've held in our mind that create an actual, literally, you begin creating the box that you live in. And so how many not enoughs have we done? He said, so the good I seek is seeking me. And of course, I didn't have a house here. They were selling so fast that it was within an hour or two. And so he said, the home I seek is seeking me. And the buyer I seek is seeking me. And I just began to hold that. I thought, what would happen if I changed my thoughts of, I'm never going to get a house, I'm going to get out there with 2 kids and all this furniture, and I don't know what I'm going to do, and I'm not, all the stuff. And I just stopped. And it was a fascinating process, because as soon as I switched my energy, remember, we put out energy, our thoughts, around a world. Now, if we look and think, we're never getting out of this. We're never going to be able to get here. We're not going to be able to do this. We're not going to be able to do that. What if you're the answer for this next piece here? And your job is to stay open enough to just love where you couldn't love before. Yourself. The world you're in. The next step you get to take. But it was a fascinating journey, because I have to say, I ended up selling my house. It took 7-8 months. Believe me, that was really good. I've been told some of those houses were for sale for up to 8 years. But the person who moved in was a minister with the last name of Davis. He had dreamed his whole life of getting this house. And I still get their mail, because very often they forward it. But it was a fascinating experience of, they bought it outright, paid for it. I just said, thank you, God, and let it go. And believe me, real estate's very different there than here. I bought a house here I'd never seen, and I love it. My sister took pictures. She said, Lisa, you would be perfect here. It had sold twice, and it fell through for that second time, and it was open for 2 hours. There were 4 bids, and for some reason, he took me. But you know what I'm saying? It was like everything happened that was impossible. There's an order larger than you know right now, and you're a part of it. So my invitation to us today is to begin to say no to the stuff that binds us. The sacred journey you're walking, I don't know if it's a diagnosis, if it's getting along with the people you're around, if it's beginning to believe that you have everything in you need to do everything that is yours to do in this lifetime. You have it. And then you take one step. And then you go, oh dear, where am I? Then you start over again. Wait a minute. I have everything I need in this moment to take the next step and the next step. And life calls us forth. And suddenly we find ourselves in a world that we do touch each other, and that we do find out we're one, and there's so much more. I just got a letter. I get them in the mail all the time. And I want to say it was from the superintendent of the North Clackamas School District. And you may wonder what in the world I'm using. But he said, I've been here 30-some years. This is my last letter I'm writing. And he said, I learned something more than I ever believed I would. And he talked about hearing the lived experience of students in his district this past year during the pandemic that even opened his eyes further. But he said, our schools must be places where each student knows we care about them and we are with them, every single one of them. Our students count on us to be put in place, for us to put in place the conditions and the environment for this to happen. Each of us, no matter what we believe, how we look, where we were born, or whom we love, is entitled to none less, to move through the world being respected and safe. Love for one another can make this happen. Unlike tolerance, which would have us acknowledge our differences, love shows that each of us has the worth and the value. Love compels us to defend each other from hurt and from harm. And I just looked at that and I just went, that's what we're asking for in a world. And the step and the place where you stand is asking for that same thing. Are you safe in the corridors of your mind? Are you willing to trust that you have everything you need within you? And are you willing to let go of the old messages that we aren't all one? And just simply say, here I am, world. I'm the love that we're waiting for. Thank you. As we have the opportunity to receive our tithes and our love offerings, there is a basket in the back if you'd like to share an offering. If not, you're also welcome to go on to unityofportland.org, and they have ways to give. On Facebook, there's a use app button. You can text 77977 and do that. And then Unity of Portland, all lowercase. You can send in a check. We're so grateful for the offerings because they allow us to move forward with what we are creating here and what we believe, which is the infinite presence of every person and the fact that every one of us has all we need in this moment. And so we just say, I'm going to say our blessing, and then I'd invite you to affirm it with me. And this idea that divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I invite you to take that in, and let's hold this idea together. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And we are so blessed, and so it is.
Well, before we move on to, I wanted to introduce my dear childhood friend, Kirsten Alba. She and I have been singing together since we were in our first musical in 6th grade together. So she is just coming back into music, into her life. I just kind of dragged her here, and you might see a lot more of her. And while I'm just having some technical... Thank you.
What you need to do, and Michael Kerr, we're so glad, and our singers. Thank you, thank you.
Okay. Do you have... Oh, I'm so sorry. Do you have the other lyrics? My computer just went down that has the...
Lyrics.
Okay. Here we go. And this is Picture This. I know, never thought I'd be that person, too afraid to chase after his dreams. After a while, I stopped looking beyond all the things right in front of me. You came and helped me to open my eyes to things I have missed all along. After a life full of easy dreams, what if I was wrong all along? Picture this, what if all it takes is a moment believing
the end doesn't end, it begins.
Picture this, what if all we wanted was there all along,
leading us
to what's so hard to see. Picture this, picture this.
A glimpse of how brave I could be. I'm taking for myself the freedom to hear out the voice that's inside of me. So hold your breath, count to 10, capture this moment. I don't have to see the end to move on. This twist of fate's worth the wait. Never been more happy to be wrong all along.
Picture this, what if all it takes is a moment believing the end doesn't end, it begins. Picture this, what if all we wanted was there all along,
leading
us to what's so hard to see. Picture this, dare to see it.
Dare to let myself be in.
Behind every everything that I've lost. I thought,
what if all it takes is a moment believing?
what if all it takes is a moment believing? The end doesn't end, it begins. Picture this. What if all we wanted was there all along?
Leading
us
to
what's so hard to see. Picture this.
what if all it takes is a moment?
Picture this.
And it begins. Picture this.
What if all we wanted was there all along? What if all it takes is a moment, a moment, a moment? Picture this.
Thank you, thank you. How beautiful. And in just a moment, we're going to sing our youth in. Does that work? All right. I just want you to remember that just as they talked about there, creating a space for all of our youth, part of our job, every one of us on this planet, is to see the wholeness and the infinite presence in every one of our youth. And so as our kids come in, as our youth come in, I just invite you to create an energy field of love into which they walk this morning. It reminds them on a cellular, solar level of the wholeness that they are, of the life and the love they are.
One with the earth, with the sky, one with everything in life. I believe it will start with conviction of the heart, with the earth, with the sky, one with everything in life. I believe it will start with conviction of the heart.
Oh my gosh, you guys have grown up. Everybody got so big. All right. And we have the opportunity now to stand and just hold an intention for peace on our planet, for a remembering of our hearts that we came to live as peace, in peace, as one.
Here we go. Let it be.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be our joyous vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
Oh, yes. Let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me. Yes, yes. And I just wanted to let all of you know, if you weren't aware, Reverend Sydney will be doing her last message. I'll be in here with her in 2 weeks here before she moves to her new church in Hollywood, California, North Hollywood. So I just invite you to be here on the 18th of July to support her and hold that space with her. And please join us outside after the service if you would like for a wonderful time to celebrate this beautiful journey of this country. All right, and we're going to I'm going to say our unity prayer. We're all going to say it, just remembering in our hearts that the light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And we say, thank you, God. Thank you, God.
and we will see love rise.